You ever sit down at a restaurant, open the menu, and feel that wave of panic hit you? You're scanning the pages, everything looks delicious, but there's this one question running in the back of your mind. Where in the world am I going to find the protein? For vegetarians, dining out can feel like detective work, trying to crack a code written by chefs who built the menu with steak, chicken, or salmon in mind. But I'm vegetarian. And yet, the good news is protein is almost always hiding in plain sight. Once you know how to spot it, eating out stops being stressful and becomes fun again. Restaurants are designed to please the majority, but that's not us, vegetarians, which usually means meat at the center of the plate. But just because that's the default doesn't mean you're locked out. The real art of being a vegetarian at a restaurant is less about you can't and more about how you navigate it. Protein is there in grains, legumes, cheese, nuts, feeds, and yes, sometimes in dishes you wouldn't expect. The trick is being able to scan the menu like a nutritionist, not like a hungry diner. And once you practice this a few times, you realize it's not about restriction at all. It's about creativity. Now, I know one of the biggest fears vegetarians have when eating out is walking away still hungry. You don't want to spend money on a salad that's mostly lettuce. Lettuce has no nutritional value. Or a pasta dish that tastes good but leaves you dragging an hour later. And honestly, that happens when protein isn't part of the equation. Without it, meals feel empty. With it, meals are satisfying, balanced, and you won't be raiding the pantry the second you get home. That's why finding protein on any menu isn't optional. It's the key to enjoying the experience. Here's the interesting part. Restaurants almost always have protein-rich ingredients in their kitchen, even if they're not listed as the star of the dish. Chefs use beans, lentils, quinoa, cheese, yogurt-based sauces, nuts, seeds, and eggs, not because they're catering to vegetarians, but because those ingredients add texture, flavor, and balance to the menu. That means when you're reading the menu, don't just look at the entree section. Scan the appetizers, look at the sides. Sometimes your best protein source is sitting under the starters column or even tucked into a salad description. When you start thinking that way, the menu opens up. I can't tell you how many times I've sat at a restaurant with friends, and while they're busy debating steak versus salmon, I'm scanning the side section and thinking, okay, there's quinoa, there's lentils in that soup, chickpeas in that salad. Suddenly, I've got a plan. And when my plate shows up, it's colorful, filling, and everyone else is staring at it saying, that actually looks better than mine. That's the beauty of knowing what to look for. You stop feeling like the odd one out, and instead, you become the person who ordered the most creative dishes at the table. The best part, this isn't limited to vegetarian friendly restaurants. Even in steakhouses, barbecue joints, or diners, the same principle applies. Think about it. Baked potatoes can be topped with cheese or beans. Salads can be loaded with nuts or eggs. Pasta can be made with protein-rich noodles. Well, probably not at a diner, but that gives you some options. Soups often contain lentils or peas. You don't have to eat the way the menu expects you to. You just have to mix and match. Sometimes that means combining a couple of smaller dishes instead of sticking to one entree. And trust me, chefs are used to substitutions. You won't be the first or the last person to ask for substitution. Because I'm the substitution queen. I always ask for substitution. And let's not forget international cuisine, often the easiest place to find vegetarian protein if you know what you're looking for. Indian menus are filled with lentil dals, paneer curries, and chickpea stews. Mediterranean restaurants offer hummus, falafel, yogurt sauces, and hearty bean dishes. Even Mexican menus, they have black beans, refried beans, cheese, and sometimes quinoa or arrowroot in more modern places. But in Mexican restaurants, you need to be careful because they cook their beans in beef broth or chicken broth for their rice. So you need to make sure you ask them about that. Asian menus often feature tofu, tempeh, or endame. When you know these cultural staples, you can walk into almost any global restaurant and already know which part of the menu is going to have your protein. And here's what I really want you to know. Eating out as a vegetarian isn't about scarcity, it's about empowerment. Most people glance at a menu and think, what looks tasty? You, as someone who understands protein, get to ask a better question. What's going to fuel me, satisfy me, and keep me from crashing later? That small mindset shift makes all the difference. Suddenly, you're not the person nibbling on bread while everyone eats meat. You're the one leaving the restaurant feeling good, not sluggish. And let's talk about the social piece for a second. Sometimes vegetarians feel awkward when dining out with non-vegetarian friends, like you're the high maintenance one. But actually knowing how to find protein on any menu gives you confidence. You don't have to apologize for your order. or feel like you're compromising. In fact, you might inspire other people at the table. I can't count how many times someone has, I never thought of ordering it that way. I might try it the next time. What starts as survival becomes influence. What does all this mean exactly? It means you can walk into any restaurant, fast, casual, fine dining, or even that little diner on the corner, and know you'll leave satisfied because protein is always there if you know how to look for it. It might not always look like the centerpiece of the menu, but once you start seeing the hidden gems, dining out as a vegetarian stops being about survival and starts being about enjoyment. And isn't that the whole part of going out to eat, to enjoy? Protein doesn't have to be the thing that makes eating out stressful. With a little awareness, a little creativity, and a willingness to ask for what you need, you can thrive on any menu. That's not surviving, that's winning. And the more you do it, the easier it gets until eventually you won't even think twice. You sit down, scan the menu, and know exactly how to fuel yourself. Not panic, not stress, just good food and good company. I'll see you in the next video.